A heavy cloud of grief and confusion is currently hanging over the Mararaba area of Kukawa local government in Borno State, following a series of events that can only be described as an absolute nightmare for the local population. While many of us were safely tucked in our beds during the early hours of Sunday morning, a devastating incident was unfolding in the T-junction that connects the road leading to Daban Masara and Baderi. At exactly 3 a.m., when the world is usually at its quietest, the silence of the Borno night was shattered not by the sounds of nature, but by the roar of jet engines and the bone-shaking explosions of high-precision airstrikes. This was the second time in less than 24 hours that the Nigerian Air Force had visited the area, but this time the consequences were far more permanent and heartbreaking than anyone could have anticipated. We are talking about hard-working fishermen and commercial drivers who were simply gathered at a known terminus, waiting for the break of dawn to transport their products to the markets in Monguno. The gist of what actually happened on the ground is far different from the official reports we often see in the news. According to eyewitnesses and survivors who spoke from their hospital beds at the Monguno General Hospital, these men were not terrorists. They were fathers, sons, and neighbors trying to earn a living in one of the most dangerous terrains in the country. The first strike had occurred on Saturday afternoon, hitting a motor park where over 50 vehicles were parked. Many drivers, fearing for their livelihoods, decided to stay with their cars overnight to assess the damage and wait for the fishermen to return from the Lake Chad waters. Little did they know that by 3 a.m., the aircraft would return to finish what it started. The names of those who didn't make it back to their families are now being whispered in mourning: Modukuru, Baka Dambe, Abakaka, and several others who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. It is a tragedy that has left the community in a state of absolute shock, especially since these strikes happened just hours after the military had publicly promised to prioritize civilian safety. If you are just following this development and you feel that the voices of these innocent Nigerians deserve to be heard, please take a moment to hit the like button. It helps us ensure that stories like this don't get buried under the rug and that the families of the victims know they are not alone. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We are committed to tracking every detail of this story, from the official military statements to the local reports on the ground, so that you always have the full picture of what is happening in our country. Your subscription helps us continue this independent storytelling and keeps the conversation about accountability alive. What makes this situation even more complex is the gist regarding the territory itself. The area around Kukawa and the southern Tumbuns has long been recognized as a stronghold for the Islamic State West Africa province, also known as ISWAP. In these Daula or administrative zones, the insurgents have created their own mini-government where they impose heavy taxes on anyone trying to farm or fish. We're hearing reports that fishermen have to pay as much as 40,000 naira just for a monthly access card, plus an additional 5,000 naira for every carton of fish they move. These civilians are caught between a rock and a hard place. They pay the terrorists to survive, but that very payment makes them look like collaborators in the eyes of military intelligence. This appears to be a case of false intelligence, where the presence of a large concentration of vehicles was misinterpreted as a terrorist logistics hub, when in reality it was a gathering of commercial activity under the most difficult circumstances imaginable. The local government and the Borno State Commissioner of Information, Professor Usman Tar, have expressed their own frustrations, stating that they reached out to the Air Force for clarification but have been met with a wall of silence. While the Air Force spokesperson, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, initially released a statement claiming that the mission successfully destroyed a terrorist workshop and neutralized several armed elements, the images of burnt-out commercial cars and the testimonies of surviving drivers like Baba Malaji describe the scene as a deliberate attempt to destroy their means of survival. He wasn't driving a luxury SUV. He was driving a neighbor's car just to pay a weekly fee and keep his 10 children fed. Now, that car is a pile of ash, and his future is as dark as that 3 a.m. sky. The related talk currently buzzing in security circles is the involvement of foreign experts in our military. Just a day before the bombing, the Nigerian Air Force had hosted a delegation of United States experts on civilian harm mitigation and response. The irony of this is not lost on the people of Borno. There is a growing sense of disgust on the ground because while the military is receiving high-tech training and equipment from global powers, the mistakes on the ground seem to be repeating themselves. From the Iran bombing years ago to this current incident in Kukawa, the question remains, why does precision technology keep hitting commercial motor parks and fishing junctions? Some analysts are speculating that the pressure to show results against ISWAP is leading to a shoot-first, ask questions later mentality that is only serving to radicalize the local population further. We must also talk about the silence that has followed this event. In any other part of the world, a 3 a.m. airstrike that kills civilians and destroys 50 vehicles would be a national scandal with immediate high-level investigations. But in the Northeast, these incidents are often treated as collateral damage. The families are now calling for justice and compensation, not just for the lives lost, but for the destruction of their economic lives. When a driver loses his car in Borno, he doesn't just lose a vehicle, he loses his ability to stay out of the reach of the insurgents' recruitment offers. Poverty and insecurity go hand in hand, and these accidental bombings are only making the poverty more acute. As we continue to monitor the situation, it is important to remember that these are not just statistics, they are real people with names and stories. The fact that survivors had to wait for hours at the hospital because no doctor was on duty during the New Year period only adds more salt to the wound. It shows a systemic failure that goes beyond just the military. We are looking at a community that feels abandoned by the very government that is supposed to protect them. The question we should all be asking is how many more accidents can the people of the Northeast endure before the trust between the civilians and the military is completely broken? I really want to hear your thoughts on this in the comments section below. Do you think the Nigerian Air Force needs to be more transparent when these mishaps happen, or do you believe that in a war zone, these things are simply unavoidable? Is the influence of foreign military partners helping or hurting our local intelligence gathering? The gist is deep, and your perspective helps us all understand the human cost of this conflict. Please share this video so that more people can understand what our brothers and sisters in Borno are going through this January. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. It's the best way to support this channel and ensure that we can keep bringing you these deep dive reports. We will continue to follow up with the Borno State Government and the Air Force headquarters for any updates on compensation for the victims. Stay safe out there, stay vigilant, and let's keep pushing for a Nigeria where every life truly matters. I will see you in the next update.